Welcome back to the sanctuary of the untold, the only corner of the digital universe where we pause the relentless spin of the news cycle to listen to the beating hearts behind the headlines. You are watching Whatever You Need. History is often written in ink, but in the world of celebrity, it is written in moments. It is written in the pause between a question and an answer. It is written in the glance that lingers a second too long. And sometimes it is written in the things that are left unsaid. We often think of movie premieres as orchestrated pageants, glittering, hollow spectacles where everyone sticks to the script. But every once in a generation, the script is burned. A red carpet in Madrid, usually a runway for fashion and promotional soundbites, was transformed overnight into the stage for a psychological drama that has overshadowed the very film it was meant to celebrate. We are taking you to the Spanish capital, to the magnificent gala of El Turco. The lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and the star, Yaman, was poised for his victory lap. But when he approached the microphone, something happened that no publicist could control. With a single sentence, he stirred the ghosts of the past. He didn't speak a name, but the entire world heard one, Demet Özdemir. Today on Whatever You Need, we are going to dissect this night in forensic detail. We will analyze the question that changed the evening, the philosophical weight of Can's answer, and the thunderous power of Demet's subsequent silence. This is not just gossip, it is a study of memory, regret, and the marks that love leaves on the soul. But before we step onto that red carpet, I have a question for you, the beating heart of our community. Do you believe that we ever truly get over the people who changed us? Or do we just learn to live around the space they left behind? If you appreciate these deep, soulful explorations of the human condition within the lives of the stars, please ensure you are subscribed to Whatever You Need. And for those who wish to walk even closer with us, to support our research and join our inner circle of storytellers, the join button is waiting for you below. Your support is the ink in our pens. Now, let us travel to Madrid. To understand the explosion, we must first understand the pressure cooker. Madrid has rapidly evolved into one of the essential venues for European premieres, a city that combines historic grandeur with a modern, electric energy. For the Gala of El Turco, the stakes were incredibly high. This was not just another project for Yaman, it was his magnum opus, a project designed to cement his status as a truly international leading man. The event was held in a historic building, a venue that breathed elegance. The architecture spoke of legacy and permanence, a fitting backdrop for a story about history. The guest list was a who's who of the European entertainment elite. The red carpet was a river of crimson velvet, flanked by a sea of flashing bulbs and screaming fans. Everything was going according to the master plan. The lighting was perfect, the tuxedos were sharp, and the smiles were dazzling. Yaman's arrival sparked the expected frenzy. He has long been a headline maker, but on this night, he seemed to inhabit a new level of stardom. He moved with an elegant style and a confident demeanor, the Turk conquering Spain. The press line proceeded with the rhythmic predictability of a metronome, questions about the film, questions about his workout routine, questions about learning the language. It was safe. It was standard. Until it wasn't. It is often the most innocent questions that carry the sharpest blades. Amidst the flurry of inquiries about scripts and directors, a reporter tossed out a question that seemed, on the surface, to be a softball philosophical query. Is there any emotion you carry from the past to the present? In the frantic energy of a red carpet, most stars would deflect this. They would give a canned answer about gratitude or passion for the craft. They would pivot back to the movie. But Yaman did not pivot. Witnesses describe a shift in the atmosphere. At that moment, it is said, Yaman paused. It wasn't a hesitation of confusion, it was a hesitation of reflection. For a brief instant, his gaze seemed to detach from the cameras, from the lights, and from the screaming crowd. It seemed to fix on a point in the distance, a point in the past that only he could see. The silence that fell over his immediate circle was palpable. And then, he spoke. He delivered a phrase that would silence the Madrid night and echo across the Mediterranean. Yaman said, "Some people leave a mark on your life. This mark doesn't disappear with time, it only changes its meaning. Let us sit with that sentence for a moment. It is profound in its simplicity. It acknowledges a truth that celebrity culture often tries to erase, that stars are human beings with histories that haunt them. He didn't say I moved on. He didn't say the past is the past. He admitted that the mark remains. But he didn't stop there. As the room fell silent and the whispers began to ripple outward like waves from a stone thrown in a pond, he continued. This statement, which at first glance seemed general, took on a completely different dimension with the sentences that followed. Part of who I am today is due to the emotions I shared in the past. It's easy to deny it, but it's harder to be honest. I'm not in conflict with the past. I accept it as it is. This was the key. He framed his history not as a burden, but as a building block. He rejected the path of denial. In an industry built on smoke and mirrors, this raw honesty was disarming. There was neither regret nor a settling of scores in his tone. There was just a detached, somewhat melancholic acceptance. As one magazine commentator later analyzed, this wasn't lamenting the past. It was putting it in its place. It was an admission that he is a mosaic made of the people he has loved and lost. There were no names spoken. There was no clear allusion to a specific date or event. But for the world of celebrity gossip, and indeed for the fans who have followed his journey, sometimes not mentioning a name is the loudest way to say it. The arrows of interpretation pointed instantly and unanimously to a single name, Demet Özdemir. Why? Because human memory is associative. When the words past, emotion, honesty, and mark converged in that sentence, the collective consciousness of the room summoned her image. The project they starred in together years ago, Turkish, was not just a hit TV show. It was a cultural phenomenon that relied entirely on a chemistry so potent it blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Their long-discussed, never fully confirmed relationship has been the white whale of Turkish tabloids. According to the narrative of the night, the glances in the room took on a frantic meaning after his words. Journalists were seen scribbling furiously in their notebooks. They knew they had the headline. It wasn't about El Turco anymore. It was about the ex. The next day, a prominent gossip columnist summed it up with a sentence that cut to the bone. Sometimes, not mentioning names is the clearest way to express yourself. By leaving the subject anonymous, can allow the audience to fill in the blank. And everyone filled it with the same face. This moment is a masterclass in communication. It shows us that you don't need to shout to be heard. I want to pause here and ask you, if you were Demet, watching this unfold from afar, how would you feel? Would you feel honored by the acknowledgement or invaded by the public speculation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. We read every single insight you share, and your experiences add so much depth to our community. And please, if you are finding yourself moved by this story of memory and fame, take a second to hit the like button. It helps us share these narratives with more people. For those who want to help us keep the lights on and the stories flowing, clicking that join button makes you a vital part of our mission. Your support is the heartbeat of this channel. The reaction within the gala itself was reportedly a study in contrasts. The guests, a mix of hardened industry professionals and artistic souls, were divided. Some considered this statement extremely mature, serene, and respectful. They saw a man who has done the work on himself, a man who is secure enough in his present to honor his past. One guest was overheard commenting, "This wasn't a revelation. It was more of an acceptance." Another added a poignant observation. "Those who struggle with the past don't speak, those who accept it do." However, others were critical. They felt it was an unnecessary public expression of private feelings, a distraction from the work of the hundreds of people who made the film. They argued that by opening this door, even indirectly, he invited the circus into the temple of cinema. Tabloid commentators, however, viewed it differently. They interpreted the phrase, "I'm not in conflict with the past," as an emphasis on maturity. It was a signal that the war, if there ever was one, is over. The peace treaty has been signed in the heart. But perhaps the most impactful moment of the night, and the days that followed, did not occur in Madrid. It occurred in the vacuum left by the other side of this equation. According to the narrative, Demet Özdemir didn't make a single statement. Not one. Not a tweet. Not an Instagram story with a cryptic song lyric. Not a leaked comment from a friend. She gave the world absolutely nothing. In the entertainment world, where reaction is the currency, this attitude was interpreted as talking without responding. Her silence amplified the impact of Can's words more than any rebuttal could have. It highlighted a truth that a columnist later noted: some statements don't need a response. They simply find their place. While Can's words dominated the headlines, Demet's silence became a language of its own. Gossip writers interpreted this as a power move. Demet prefers not to get involved in the story. This shows that she is still in control, one wrote. By refusing to engage, she refused to become a supporting character in his narrative. She remained the protagonist of her own life. The aftermath was chaotic. Although El Turco received positive reviews for its visual language and ambitious storytelling, the dialogue on the red carpet suffocated the film in the news cycle. Some critics expressed genuine discomfort at the art being overshadowed by the artist's personal life. One film critic wrote with frustration, "The movie was good, but the dialogue was talked about more than anything else." This sparked a fierce debate over media language. Is every sincere statement a confession? The tabloid press labeled it a confession immediately. But was it? Or was it just a man answering a question honestly? One commentator asked the provocative question, is every sincere statement a confession, or do we just want it to be? And then, there was the question of timing. Was it a coincidence? Or was this a conscious turning point? Some believe that Yaman felt the need to publicly exorcise the ghosts of the past before stepping into this massive new chapter of his career. One gossip editor commented, "These kinds of statements before major projects often have a final meaning." It was a way of clearing the decks, of saying, "I acknowledge this, so we can finally move past it." Social media comments on behalf of Demet were divisive. While some interpreted her silence as a firm stance of dignity, others argued that it showed the shared past had not yet been fully resolved, that the wound was perhaps still too tender to touch. Even days later, the Madrid night continued to generate discussion. As the promotional process for El Turco rolled on, the same questions circulated in every interview Can gave: what did those words mean? Was it truly a confession or a distant nod to the past? Perhaps this was the most striking aspect of the story. There were no clear answers. Only phrases, glances, and silences. The result was a Rorschach test for the public: one phrase, 1,000 interpretations. When the lights of the Madrid Gala finally dimmed, what remained was not just a movie premiere. It was an atmosphere that will be talked about for a long time. Yaman's measured tone, his words laden with meaning but devoid of names, and Demet Özdemir's thunderous silence further deepened a story that refuses to end. Perhaps El Turco will be remembered not only as a cinematic achievement, but as a vivid example of how a single line can lead to hundreds of headlines. And the world of celebrity gossip was reminded once again that in the geometry of relationships, the distance between two people is often measured in the things they do not say. We will continue to watch, to listen, and to decode the signals. Because in this story, the silence is just as loud as the applause. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive on whatever you need. We hope this story gave you a new perspective on the power of the past. If you believe that some marks never fade, leave a star emoji in the comments. And please, don't forget to click that join button to support our channel and help us bring you the stories that matter. Until next time, respect the silence and honor your own marks. Goodbye.